What up? My name is Jade Fox. This is the Major Looks channel, and today, she's mic'd up. I'm trying to give you budget, all right? Today, I have my ginger tea, and I'm ready to answer all of your questions about my journey, so to speak, my growing up masculine, being a tomboy, realizing that I had just a more masculine way of presenting myself, and what it was like navigating that as a young laddie. I'll be answering those questions, and also just in that same realm, what that was like as it relates to my personal style. Because as you can imagine, mad jorts energy. I made a point, I was like, I always record these long-winded videos, and then when I sit down and edit it, I get in my head about like people not wanting to watch me just talk and flap my gums for an hour. And so I end up cutting a lot of it out, but I'm going to make it a point to keep most of it in. That's what she said. Can you talk about how presenting masculine changed your dating life in terms of the way how straight gender roles get placed into same-sex relationships? I would say that it was more of an assumption that I was going to take on that more like dominant role. Like, it was not something that I pushed necessarily. And that happens a lot, where like you present masculine and people just kind of assume that you are this dominant or aggressive person. And don't get me wrong, like I can be fairly type A, but most of the time I'm chilling and I don't really care. I also don't feel the need to like satisfy people's expectations of me. Like, if you see me and you expect me to be one way, I don't have to satisfy that just because you want me to. Like, your expectations of me have more so to do with your expectations of you and how you think the world looks and works, but that has nothing to do with me. It definitely has made an influence, but I think once I've actually gotten deeper into those relationships, those girls realize like, oh no, Jade is just a full-on cottonelle bear. So, you know, I mean, look at me. Can you talk about the first time you remember your parents wanting to dress you in something that did not align with your personal style? No, I can't think about the first time. I've always just been one to argue and not do what people, because that's another thing. I just don't want to do what people tell me to do either. So obviously there's going to be some overlap here, but I don't remember the first time. I know it happened often, and usually my parents, you know, just tell me what to do and I would just do it because I was scared of them. But yeah, no, I don't remember the first time, but I know it happened often. Doing it as a cis woman, how did it affect your gender? And if you ever felt people think you should be trans or push you to be less masculine? Nobody's ever pushed me to be less masculine. If anything, people have pushed me to be more masculine. And definitely people thought I was trans. There was actually one time, should I do the story time? All right, so this is the story time about how I got misgendered on my birthday. I went to Korean barbecue because I was living in LA, and Korean barbecue is the shit. I don't really see a lot of it anywhere else. But I wanted Korean barbecue for my birthday, and so let's go get Korean barbecue. It was me and a bunch of my friends, and we finally get sat down at this long ass, you know, like that painting. I don't know, I don't be reading the Bible like that, but that painting where Jesus is in the middle of that long ass table, giving West Elm, you know what I mean, rustic collection. Somebody tipped off the waiters, and so they knew it was my birthday, so I was expecting, you know, them to come around the table with the cake and sing a song. It was all thing, like, oh my God. And I don't remember which birthday song they sang, because it wasn't the traditional happy birthday to you, because they kept calling me Jake. And this could be an error in communication. Like somebody could have said Jade, but then they just heard Jake. But the song that they kept singing, this is why I say it wasn't happy birthday, because they kept referencing him and saying Jake, and they kept looking at me. So I'm like, I guess they think I'm that. I think they think I'm Jake. So yeah, it happens. People just, I think most of the time it's actually like an overcompensation. I think people don't want to seem ignorant, and so they don't want to ask you like, hey, what are your pronouns? Or hey, what are, you know, how do you identify? Are you cis? Are you trans? Like, they just assume to not have to ask the questions, and so they're wrong most of the time. But yeah, it happens, but no one's ever pushed me to be less masculine though. What it means for you to be a more masculine / androgynous presenting person and to own your style and aesthetic, when masculinity and ungendering is often pushed onto dark-skinned women without our consent, regardless of how feminine we present ourselves. It's kind of, in a weird way, kind of dangerous, because like you just said, a lot of Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women, we tend to, like, we're seen as non-feminine. We're seen as, like, even the most cis, you know, feminine presenting people in the world who are dark skinned. There's just this assumption that we are non-feminine and that we are masculine or violent or aggressive, and those are just all of the things that comes along with just being a dark-skinned person and just all of the stigmas that come with it. And so me kind of stepping further into my masculinity and stepping further into, you know, or I guess rather away from what traditional Black womanhood looks like, knowing that I am seen as a Black man sometimes, it does feel dangerous. It feels like I'm making my shit harder for myself, but also this is just how I like to look. This is how I'm comfortable looking. I feel like I'm sexy this way, so I don't really know what I'm supposed to do there. But I remember, like, especially when I cut my hair, I did think about the way that I'd be perceived and if I would be making shit even harder for myself. And yes, the answer's yes, but this is just how I am. So I'm gonna just run with it. I'm gonna just deal with it. I believe that I began to own it when I realized that, like, I'm not chasing an aesthetic and I'm not chasing or trying to achieve a look. This is how I look. This is what I like. Like, my style became less of this outside thing that I would put on, and it became one with my personality. It became one with who I am as a person and just how I walk this life. And so as of right now, me and Jade were just talking about this, but like, as of right now, I don't think about my masculinity as much as other people do. It's just who I am at this point. And so at some point, the two became one. Did your parents ever discourage your style, heavily encourage you to be more feminine? No, but they definitely got them jokes off. They didn't necessarily try to discourage me or get me to be feminine. Obviously, when I went shopping with my mom, she'd pick out more feminine things, and I would say, no, I'm not wearing that skirt, Mom. And she'd be frustrated, but at the end of the day, it's like, you're gonna get over it. Like, I'm not gonna wear that. Like, you're gonna get over it though, it's fine. How do you deal with presenting masculine in your head and others not perceiving it that way? I don't care, because I'm not masculine in my head. Like, I don't think about it. It's not something that I'm like, okay, gotta turn on the masculinity when I walk into this Kroger. Like, I don't think about it. It's, there are definitely times where I'll get dressed and I'll feel really good and I'll look in the mirror and it's not quite what I thought it was in my head, or like when I look down, it's not giving the same thing. But there is no, like, discrepancy between the way that I perceive my masculinity and the way that I see it physically. And I feel like I probably felt more of this while dating, like me wanting to be, and this is obviously back during a time where I was like really, really pushing this shit. But, you know, in my mind, I was more masculine than I actually was. And, you know, when dating, girls would kind of just treat me like I wasn't. And then I would like kind of like feel my chest puff up and me be like, no, I'm a real boy, you know what I mean? And so definitely more back then, but I also care way less now about that shit than I did then. Someone just asked about just my experience wearing exclusively masculine styles and just stories that go along with that. You know what's funny? I feel like I figured my style out fairly quickly. It was my hair that was the real journey. It was my hair that took the longest time for me to feel was mine. It took the longest time for me to feel like it represented me and who I was and how I wanted to be seen in the world, because I had everything. I had the permed hair, cut it off, had the Marley twist for a long time, and then under that, I did my big chop, but then I had the really short hair, and then I grew it out obviously into my little fro. Is this a fro, by the way? Genuine question for Shea Butter audience in the comments. Like, is this a fro? Yes, it's tapered. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that it's cut down, but like, is this a fro? Yeah, it was mainly my hair that took me the longest to get comfortable with, and the longest to truly feel that it represented my masculinity and my femininity, because low key, Black women love my hair. It was a thing when I cut my hair. I felt like I was stripping away my acceptance into like Black female communities. when I cut my hair, because there's this thing that happens specifically with Black women. If you have long hair and you cut it, there's trauma to be had. Like, especially older Black women, they will look at you and be like, oh my God, why'd you cut off all your pretty hair? And it's this whole thing. And I think it's just because of like all the pride that, you know, or just the pride period when it comes to having Black hair as a Black woman. And so when I cut it all off, I was expecting to be like shunned almost from Black female communities, but that didn't happen. And I think that's just because if it's cute, it's cute. If it's a look, it's a look. And that transcends gender and race, because, well, maybe not racial, but that transcends gender, because Black women love my haircut, especially aunties. They see this little A-line situation, they see this little, you know, the taper, and they say, yes, ma'am, that looks good. So oddly enough, when I thought I was gonna be, you know, kind of emancipating myself from Black womanhood, I was actually just redefining it. How did you develop the confidence to dress how you wanted? When I realized I'm cuter when I did it, like literally, it's like my confidence shot through the roof when I started presenting how I wanted to, because I was like, this is what we should have been doing in the first place. Like, this is what I should have been doing so long ago. And so when I started to do it and I started to feel comfortable and realizing that, like, it's basically like the low, oh, I spent all of this tea. When did y'all was gonna let me spill the tea? I literally spilled my tea. Art be imitating life, bro. Yeah, I was just like, this is cute, this fits, I feel fine, I am fine, I'm sexy as hell, and these clothes look like they fit me, my personality, they fit my vibe, they fit everything. And so it just felt like all the pieces had just started to fit. My confidence naturally just went up from there, because it's like, what else is that I have nothing to feel bad about. Were you ever anxious about picking more masculine clothes? At times, and there's times when I first started like really dressing more masculine around my parents, where I was like, ooh, I don't wanna deal with your comments today. I don't wanna deal with your shit today, Dad, whatever you got to say. So, like, it never stopped me though. Like, it never stopped me from dressing how I wanted. Sometimes it did, actually, when I was younger. But sometimes just because you don't know, I just don't wanna hear what people gotta say. I don't wanna hear, like, especially when it was something new, when it was something that was becoming more regular, because like I had been introducing like little things from the men's section, or like little things that were more masculine or just not traditionally feminine. But it was another thing when I started like really getting into just a more menswear aesthetic, where I could feel there was more judgment or more to say about what I had on, because it was like instead of it being more ambiguous, it was like very clear like what I'm trying to accomplish here. I was anxious because I knew that there were going to be opinions and judgments that I would have to deal with, and I just didn't feel like it. How did you get over judgments on personal style in the workplace or in other professional spaces? You know what's funny? I remember when I had a government job, I was talking to some girl, and she was like in another department, like probably HR or something. And she was like, you were so brave. I was like, what? And she was like, you were so brave. You just come to work and you wear what you want. I was like, bitch, you act like my titties are out. What are you talking about right now? And she was like, obviously I don't remember the exact words. There's just something to the effect of like, your shoes, your style is just so different. And basically what she meant was, you be coming up in here dressing like a boy, and you just be sitting at your desk looking like a boy and stuff. And the thing is, I didn't even really dress masculine. I just wore like button-ups, women's button-ups at that. I wore women's button-ups and like chinos, girl, like dress pants and Oxfords, sometimes loafers. So I don't even know why I'm so brave for wearing a J. Crew's finest right now. Because the thing about my government job is that I could dress in a women's button-up and chinos or dress pants and be perfectly fine. Like, I don't have to wear a tie. I don't need to wear a 3-piece suit to be comfortable. Like, that's when I say like my masculinity is on a scale. I'm comfortable wearing just the button-up, and and everything I'm wearing is from the women's section. Everything I'm wearing is like slightly tailored, and I'm fine. I don't feel uncomfortable. But my full-time job before I went full-time creative was the first job I had that didn't have a dress code. Like, you can wear whatever you want, jeans, sneakers, whatever. And so I remember like getting dressed and not wanting to do too much. And so I remember my uniform for a long time before I like started being like comfortable was a t-shirt, a zip-up hoodie, a hat, skinny jeans, sneakers. That is what I would wear, because I felt that that is something that like a feminine girl would wear on her day off, on, you know, any given Saturday at her local Whole Foods. And so that was a weird thing. I remember that was a thing for like a couple weeks. I was just like, damn, I've literally never been in a situation where I can dress as masculine as I want. And I don't know how, do I feel judged? Like, am I putting myself in a situation? Like, is this non-professional? I think that's mainly what it was. It was like, obviously it's business casual. It's not even business casual, it's just casual. But for some reason in my mind, it felt unprofessional, even in a casual setting, to dress fully masculine. I don't know. Good question though. I completely forgot about that little time in my life. I know that for me, I was sometimes mistaken as a guy by people, and they'd use male pronouns or write my name Maddie, M-A-D-D-I-E, as Maddie, M-A-T-T-Y. Did this happen to you? Did it matter to you? Did it affect your style afterwards? I know my name is Jade. It's kind of hard to fuck up. So no, that didn't happen to me. I mean, I do get mistaken for a guy sometimes, but it literally doesn't faze me anymore. Like, it's not something that I'm like, ooh, yes, sis is passing. But it's not, it's not negative or bad. It's not negative or positive. It's just something that happens, and that's just one of the side effects that comes along with being androgynous, is people just don't assume the gender that you present sometimes based off of the fact that you just present your gender differently. And so it just happens, and I'm not mad about it. But no, my name is Jade. And other than that time on my birthday when I got misgendered and they thought I was Jake, no. Did you ever go through a period of time in growing up when you presented more femme as a default because of societal expectations before you felt comfortable presenting more masculine? If so, what was that time period like, and how did you evolve past it? I wouldn't say that even when I was more feminine, like obviously like middle school, like beginning of high school, even like, honestly, even to end of high school, that when I was a bit more femme, it wasn't something that I was like, it wasn't a painful experience. Like, it was just my style at the time. It was before I realized, well, I wouldn't say realize, like I feel like I kind of grew into this. Like, if this wasn't, I am not a person that I've always wanted to be, you know, like who I am now is who I grew into and who I grew up to be. So when I was younger, that wasn't, you know, me like hiding who I really was. It wasn't me like wishing that one day I could get that fade. It was more of just, that's just what I was looking like at the time. And I think that before you really have your own life where you can truly make your own decisions, especially on the ways that you present, you just kind of do what you're told and do what other people are doing. And it wasn't until I got my first job, I was living on my own for the first time, I was making my own money, where I realized, I was like, oh, like how I look and how I navigate this world is completely up to me now. Like, my parents aren't picking out my clothes and putting them on the bed for me anymore. They're not taking me on my annual, you know, school shopping trips to Macy's, or my mom picks out all my jeans for me. It's like, this is something that I have full control over. And so I think that was the time when I really started to get into my masculinity more and experiment with it more and really explore it, because before then it was just not much of a thought, I think. But those are the questions I'm going to answer. Pretty much all of them were around that topic. So if you left one and it wasn't answered, I feel like you got your answer and someone else's question. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, if you like hearing about androgynous and unisex fashion, and I do want to make a whole video. I don't know if it's going to be on this channel or my other channel, but I do have a main channel where I cover LGBT topics through the lens of comedy, because I can't take shit seriously. That's gonna be linked down in the description. I have a Patreon if you would like to support your girl for $5 a month, and you get exclusive content as well as behind the scenes content, as well as first dibs on new merch drops. I have a merch line, my brand, Jade Fox Club, that is gonna be linked down below. We are currently sold out. The restock is coming. It's about to be hot off the presses, okay? So if you want to be the first dibs to get that, because it will sell out. I'm telling you, it's going to sell out. Sweatshirts are also gonna be a part of that drop. Those are absolutely going to sell out. I'm letting you know now. Become a patron, pay $5, and you will get access to that merch first before anybody else to make your order. Congratulations to the winner I think by the time this video goes out, I would have mailed your stuff, so I hope that you get it by then. If you didn't win, which is most of you who isn't that person, there will be more giveaways in the future, I promise. Hope y'all like this video though, and I will see y'all very soon in another one. And do not forget, wear what you want, wear what you like, wear it out, girl. See you soon.